All right, well, welcome everyone to our Monday, November the 10th combined work session business board meeting. I call the meeting to order, and I welcome our treasurer, Mr. Bertram, to call the roll, please.
I certainly will. Mrs. Ramsey Hunter?
Here.
Mr. Moore?
Here.
Mrs. Stewart?
Here.
Mrs. Schreiber?
Here.
Dr. Urso?
I am here. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Give me a second, Krista. Get this off the screen.
Oh, I'm sorry. You give me a nod when you're ready.
There you go.
Ready?
Patient's done.
All right. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So move.
Thank you,
Second.
Berlinda. Thank you, Anita. Any questions about tonight's agenda? All right, then, Mr. Bertram, when you're ready.
Mrs. Ramsey Hunter?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Stewart?
Yes.
Mrs. Schreiber?
Yes.
Dr. Urso?
Yes. In regards to public participation, I have the honor to welcome Ms. Cora Thompson, our lovely MTA president, to speak to the board on MIDI positivity and thankfulness. Always welcome that. And so welcome, Ms. Thompson.
Hello, board members and community at large. It's always a great day to be a MIDI. Just want to remind everyone of this season. It is the season, right, to be thankful and grateful. And MTA would like to say a special thank you to everyone, the community at large, the parents, the board, staff, students, all of the people that come together to make things work. This is that time, and I think we always need that special kick, that special something that tells us that we're appreciated, that we're seen, that our hard work and our efforts don't go unnoticed and they're not futile. So I want to say thank you. And I know that parents are thankful, community members are also thankful, and so we want to definitely share that. Last month happened to be Principals Appreciation Month. Well, we also say thank you to our administrators, those who have those high standards, but yet still such a great heart for the people that they are charged with helping care for and work with, such as the teachers and the little and not so little people that are in the hallways and in the classrooms. So we thank you for that. At MHS, we are reminded daily that we are having school today. Thank you, Dr. Hill. And if you ever forget, there's a phone call coming and then another phone call. But we got some great things going on at Middletown High School. And how about those middies?
Yeah, what do you think of that?
Big deal. So we are thankful. That is some positivity that we need. So anybody who can, I encourage you to come out and support Coach Jones and the fellas and all their hard work and effort to be placing at state. I also want to say a special thanks to some of the staff at MHS for going the extra mile to do things that some people don't even know. Like, for example, for conference night, Steve Urso helped to coordinate the meals for staff so that we weren't running around trying to DoorDash or order or meet a conference and try to gobble down this and that. There was food provided for us, and that's something that he's done multiple times, multiple years in a row. So things like that matter, that just take a little bit of stress off of us. So I also want to say, with the cold weather, I'm really concerned about the children being warm and all. So parents and those out there, please remember that there are resources available. If your little one or your not so little one needs a coat or some extra help, that there are community partners who help with those things. So please reach out to the leadership in your buildings and we can make something happen. So I appreciate you all. I just want to say thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks.
Thank you, Cora.
Thank you.
All right, our main event tonight is next, our 5-year forecast, and our treasurer, Mr. Bertram.
bring Sam up.
Yes, thank you, Sam.
Good job bringing it up. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, this year on the forecast, as you know, a lot of things are happening in the State House, good, bad, or indifferent. We see quite a few changes between now and this time next year. And a lot of legislation out there. There's over 100 bills to do this, that, and the other thing that could affect public education. Maybe in December, if some of those bills are coming to fruition or get narrowed down a little bit, I can share those with you to give you a little better idea of what's going on. But right now, it's a potluck. We really don't know what's going to happen there. Everyone's trying to get theirs in, and but certainly public education could be affected in a huge way, along with other municipalities, local governments, and so forth. We're all a little bit curious, if not worried, about the future. So when we're going through the presentation, I just want you to keep that in mind. I want to talk about percentages on revenue. We'll talk about some percentages on expenditures, a little different than I normally do, but I want to focus on those percentages because those are what could change, especially on the revenue side of things. All right. Current fiscal year projected financial analysis. Beginning cash balance, July 1st this year, $34,940,000. Great cash balance. We are looking at a gain this year of about $5.7 million. Revenue certainly will exceed expenditures. And this year we went ahead and made those ESSER cuts a year in advance, knowing that what was coming out. That added about $2.5 million, which brought that $5.6 million number up quite a bit. So we are looking at a $40.6 million carryover at the end of this year. So we're going to celebrate that in the next year as well. We'll see an increase as well, but the third year we start seeing deficit spending possibly about $1.4 million. Something that's certainly changed. All right, we talk about percentages. Local taxes, about 35% of our revenue. And state funding, a little bigger number there, 58%. All other revenue at about 7%. All right, these are the sheets that are important. And I did give you all a copy of the presentation if you want to mark them up to where you want those. When we look at our percentages, 3,000 receipts, that's mostly tax revenue that comes in. There's a few other things that are mixed in with that. But you can see tax revenue, how it's trended from 2021 up through last year. So I've got 5 years of trend data on here. And we've seen a significant increase after 2022. 2022 is when they came out with the new funding formula. And it looked like our revenue dropped quite a bit because we weren't being funded for charter school kids anymore. We used to get it in about $10 million and then they take it out through an expense. So that revenue came out and the expenditures went out as well. So that's why you see that. But you could see what the biennium budgets were doing every 2 years to our revenue. It was really working for our district. It acted like a small increase in revenue each and every year, almost worked like a levy each and every year for us. Small levy. But here we are in 26, 27 is where we're looking to cap that. Now I can tell you, I have 0% marked in there. Not knowing what the heck the state's going to do. I originally had a 4% increase for that biennium budget, but our consultant talked me out of it. So I'll be honest, I said, okay, and maybe the conservative I am, I'd rather be more conservative, but you're all aware of that at this point. And then we're going to start seeing a slight decrease based on current law. We don't know what's going to happen in the next biennium and what's going to take place. That number could either drastically come down or it could drastically shoot up, really depending on real estate, how they handle that. If they come out and say, okay, no more property taxes in Ohio, residential property taxes. Well, one number is going to go away, the revenue we receive in property taxes for residential, not commercial, industrial, or public utilities. So we'll be clear on that. But then we're not as wealthy if you don't count those property taxes anymore. Per the current formula, that means the state would have to pay us a lot more to make up that difference. We don't know that that's going to happen, but understand something's got to give in the future. I don't want to concentrate on it too much, but it could be dramatically different. So right here, when we're looking at the state resources, we're looking at about 58% coming from the state of our resources right now. Next. All right, now we're looking at local taxes. Local taxes, 39%. That includes residential, agriculture, commercial, industrial, and public utilities. That's all of it. It's a large portion, and I forgot to look, Chris, I know you asked me how much a residential ag was versus the commercial. I'll have that information for you. I don't know the exact number of that, but the majority of our money comes from residential. We have a lot of condensed houses and properties. I would say probably 70-30, maybe a little higher than 70. So big number to realize. And again, you can see property taxes revenue continue to go up year over year. We had the big increase in 24 and 25, 40% increases in property values in Middletown City Schools. I've got 15% projected for the next update over here. So again, we'll see what happens with that number. Could be higher, could be lower, because where the economy be at. Something that our 3 county commissioners were able to do this year because of House Bill 96, they were able to vote a piggyback tax on the homestead exemption rebates that senior citizens and some disability people receive on their property taxes. It effectively doubles the state-funded homestead exemption by allowing the county to provide an additional property tax reduction for eligible seniors and permanently disabled homeowners, as I just mentioned. When it doubled, that's fine and dandy. The state used to reimburse us 100% of that. They're not going to reimburse the double. They're still going to reimburse the original amount. And as you can see in here, it was in 2024, we received just over $1 million in that rebate or refund back to the schools. And that breaks down to about $803,000 in a reduction loss that we will see for 1 year. They voted it in just for 1 year with the caveat. They want to see what happens with property taxes through the state of Ohio before they decide on future years for that piggyback. And then we also lose $54,000 permanent improvement funds, and then we lose about $167,000 in our bond funds. We're sitting pretty strong on our bond funds. We did a reduction a year ago when they asked what we could get back when properties went up so much, because we were sitting on a good balance. So the bond fund is the least of my worries. They have to fund that to pay all bonds in the future. They keep taking money away from that at some point. They're going to have to increase the millage that people pay to pay it back by law. So we're safe there, but permanent improvement, that's $54,000 we won't see again. All right, this is the 5-year forecast. You can take a look at the revenues, just the charts that I showed you on property taxes. On state aid, we have both unrestricted and restricted state aid that come in at about $54 million this year. Everything's looking good on the revenue side of things for the future until you see we cap out at about $101 million, and then we're just under $100 million the last 2 years in the forecast. So it looks like it's going to be steady. State adds money, that'll go up a little bit, as I have mentioned, all things being the same today. If you have any questions, please ask.
With the closing of the Federal Department of Education, how does that impact our revenues?
It doesn't affect the 5-year forecast, because that is general fund only. When we, that's an 001 fund, all the federal grants are 500 funds, still to be determined. My understanding is the flow-through is going to come to Ohio, then Ohio's going to decide then how they're going to send it back down to the schools. So Ohio has complete control. I haven't heard if any of the dollars could be reduced. Rumor has it that Title I and special ed will be similar to what we have been receiving. We haven't had large increases in those numbers for years, but at least they have been steady. Not sure about all the other smaller grants that we've been receiving to be determined. We did get them both fully funded for this year. If you remember, I had said before that it looked like we're only going to get half of those for this year, and went back and said, no, we've got to fund them 100%. because of lawsuits that were placed. All right, moving over to expenditures, personnel costs. In these personnel costs, they also include benefits that they receive. 64% of our expenditures. Most school districts run anywhere from 60 to 80%. We're sitting on the lower end, but we also outsource our transportation, and we outsource food service, so you don't see those in there. Food service you wouldn't see anyhow, they'd be at the 006 fund, but you don't see transportation. But those numbers are in the purchase services instead for transportation. Right, next slide. All right, looking at the expenditures for payroll, just the payroll, not the benefit, we're sitting at 47%, and that's for this fiscal year. We're increasing each year about 5 to 6%, and that's typical for us year over year on salaries. With the way we have our salary schedule set up, where teachers receive about 3.5% on average year over year, plus the COLAs, plus classified staff, same type of staff agreement. Benefits run about 17%. We did see a bump, a nice little bump in 2025. We had to adjust some of our benefits from our ESSER funds that we were using last year. By the way, those dried up. We were done spending them last year. A lot of those costs have shifted now to the general fund. That's one that you definitely see here. We shifted in 25 some of those costs, but we spend them in other ways. And they're being reflected right into 26, 27, 28, 29. I'm showing an 8% increase in benefits through the forecast period. Right now, nationally, it's about 8.5% nationally on healthcare benefits. And I've said before, that has been a runaway train since I came into school of finance in 2001. It has always been anywhere from 6 to 10% on average year over year. Inflation isn't that high. I call that a runaway train when you've got one facet outspending other facets of expenditures. Next. Purchase services. Purchase services, of course, are things that we buy from other entities to provide the services to us. The ESC, which you visited today, that's part of it. Warren County, Butler County, Hamilton County, Greene County. I think those are the 4 ESCs that we use. Peterman also is a purchase services. And since purchase services are salaries, we're going to see those go up by 5 to 6% per year as well, same as ours do. The majority of them are salaries. And when we get into supplies and materials, you see a big jump in 26. We were spending about $1.5 million a year out of our ESSER funds to pay for supplies and materials throughout the district. Of course, we don't have those dollars. They've now shifted into 26. So you can see an increase there. But you can see though, it's really a small amount of our total budget being at about 3.7%. Not a big dollar amount. Capital, computers and so forth, well, we can't buy out of there anymore. We did a good job buying what we could in 24. There wasn't a lot to buy in 25, but I've added, I've doubled the amount here. Give us about $500,000 a year in capital expenditures out of the general fund. When we can buy it out of the PI funds that we have, we do that first. So this number can certainly come down if we're doing well in our PI fund. And that's 0.5% per year. And there's our expenditures year over year. And you can see for this year, we're at $91.4 million, jumped up to 96.4, 101 million, 106 million, 111 million. Most of it's salaries and benefits. If we go for inflation, I did move that up as an assumption to 3%. because we've been running sticky for the last 2 years at about 2.8, 2.9%. Some argue more, some argue less. So I at least accounted for it until we see that sticky go away. And previously, I used to use 2% in most cases for inflation. All right. Here is the bottom line. When we look at our line 601 excess revenues, you can see we had 4.7 left over from last year. Great number. This year we're at about 5.7. Next year, just under 3 million. 2028, we go into deficit spending. That could go away. I've always said that before. When you're looking at less than 2% of your budget, about 1.5% of your budget, and you'll see where salaries come in less, that could go away. Revenues come in more, that could go away. And you'll see where I had some of that in 2025, which accounted for over $4 million to the good for the district. But here's where I'm focusing. Things don't change, about $8.1 million in deficit spending in 29, and then that could escalate to over $13 million in 2030. Bottom line is we have plenty of cash balance to get us through 2029 with about $42 million. But then once we start dropping $13.5 million in 2030, it's going to take us down a lot lower to about $20 million. And you'll see how much, in another slide here, you'll see days of operating, which is an important number for us. There's just pictures of revenue versus expenditures, where we're basically even third year, and then the red bar goes up much more than the orange bar, and then you can see the arch in our carryover balances. Looking at our annual change in revenue, historically, we've been at about 5.5% year over year. And remember that nice stair step we saw in state funding year over year? That's the reason we saw a nice increase. Because we're not sure what's going to happen with that. We're in the final biennium now, and it's not a true funding stream like it was before, because some of the inputs, they didn't increase them for us. They didn't tell us, they didn't recognize that it costs more for our staff moving forward, so we didn't get credit for that. And then when you look at expenses, we're at 4.44% year over year. Not bad when you have about 5.5%, 6% increases in salary year over year. But we were able to take advantage of the ESSER dollars we had and use those in place of our general fund dollars. About those ESSER dollars and what's projected with higher inflation, we're looking at just under 5% at 4.77%. When we look at current and projected cash balances, the beginning fund balance this year was $34.9 million. Budgeted revenues, $99.9 million. I hope that hits $100 million. I hope. Maybe I can ask for donations if I'm just short. Budgeted expenses, $94.2 million. Looks like we'll end the year over $40 million in a cash balance. And by the way, the money is very well invested, and we're still getting over $2 million a year in interest proceeds for that. This is days cash on hand, and we want to operate with 85 to 90 days every year. That gives us, about a 20% cash carryover, if you will. And you can see where we're in great shape until we get to that 5th year out on the forecast. Again, not a lot of reason to panic at this point, but we just have to recognize that could be out there if we don't change anything in the future. Enrollment. We started to jump in 2023 coming out of the pandemic, but now we're starting to drop again. A lot of this drop had to do with vouchers. $1 billion a year going to vouchers. Kids took advantage of that voucher. And it just doesn't mean we're losing kids either. Anytime we make changes with Butler Tech as an example, they come in, they teach a class. If one kid is in a class and he's on an 8-period day, it's 1/8 of his day. We went to the high school this year in 7 period days. If they're in that class now, it's 1/7. So we have less kids just because of that mathematical equation there. But again, it's something that we have to keep an eye on, especially in the future if we're looking for savings. We went through a redistricting exercise, which did save us some dollars. Well, I shouldn't say haven't saved yet. The moves this year, it's about even, but we should see some savings moving forward. That's another area that we could look at, a building or two, opposed to people and services. Cost per pupil. We are one of the lower ones in Butler County, believe it or not, even with all the federal dollars that we do receive. We're very efficient with our dollars, but that number does go up each and every year. Me being me, I actually asked AI to put a nice little graph for me and tell me how much are we going up year over year on the expenditures per pupil. These do include all funds. So the federal dollars are in there. That's not just the general fund, because I showed you general fund was going up 4.77. We have some big numbers in here, 2025, and we're averaging about 6%, just under 6% throughout the forecast period in increases in expenditure per pupil. There are states out there spending $35,000 to $40,000 per student. Wow. That just baffles me when I hear that. So we're below county average. We're also below the state average, and we're well below our 20 districts that are our peer districts as well. So we do a good job on the funding side. You can look at it two ways, I guess. Are we spending enough? Aren't we spending enough?
That was going to be my question. Where is the sweet spot in regards to how much we spend per pupil in regards to the return on that investment?
That's a great question. I wish I had an answer for you. I know when we work with curriculum, we think we're providing everything we need. We're doing the best we can, looking at those dollars and shifting dollars. We don't always add dollars. We try to reallocate dollars where we're not using them as well as we should be in other areas. Always a focus. Next demographic, daily cost per pupil. We spend $91 a day on each student. When you look at $91 a day for 6.5, 7 hours a day for a student, that's probably cheaper than daycare these days. I don't know, I haven't had kids in daycare for a long time. When I did have kids in daycare, I think I was spending $350 a week for them, a long time ago. So $91 a day, $450 a week, if you will. I think it's a great value. It's a number our community should understand and appreciate what we're doing for our kids. And when you look at how much we're spending, our property owners, 24% of that. The property owners, and we put everything else together, 76% of that $91. I mentioned earlier that that $1.4 million third year out could go away easily. The end of last year, current total revenue came in 1.9 higher than I had anticipated. That's great news, right? Mm-hmm. And then expenditures came in $2.3 million below what I had anticipated. So it was a win-win in our case, and that added $4.3 million to the cash balance at the end of last year.
When you say cash balance, is that the same as our contingency or
Rainy day fund?
rainy day or whatever?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, cash balance is exactly
Okay.
that. Yeah. What money do we have left over?
And did that whole conversation about it couldn't exceed a certain percentage go away?
That went away.
Okay.
Not to say it can't come back, because that's one of the bills that's still out there. It's at a much higher amount than it was originally.
So we're okay for now?
Yeah, at 40 million, 100 million in expenditures, we're at that 40, so I feel very comfortable. So even if it does come back, and I'm hearing it'll come back at 50 or 60% if it comes back, and then maybe it'll be phased down over time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I even heard one bill out there, it's 100% and it being phased down. Now, 100% I think would affect 5 or 6 school districts.
Okay.
So, that's where we are. Something else I want to talk about, since we talked about the state, and I think if you guys saw the newsletter, The piece we put in, which a lot of districts are sharing this information, is about property tax reform that's out there. Next year in November, we will see an issue on the ballot saying, how many of you want to do away with your property tax? It's coming. But the big question is, what's going to replace that revenue? There's got to be something, but no way, no. I haven't met a politician yet that wants to tell me, have any idea. Well, I don't know, don't worry about that yet. Let's try to figure out how we can do away with it, and income tax. I don't know how you can do away with both. But this really does tell a good story of how we're doing, where the money has come from. This is the big telling sign right here. The cost of running school goes up every year, and I showed you, we're at 5.5% per year. In 22 years, state school funding has grown less than 1% a year when adjusted for inflation. So basically, theirs has gone up 3% per year when you throw that 2% CPI in there when we average through those years. So they have just been passing the buck down to our locals. We've been running levies. Luckily in Middletown, that hasn't been the case for us, but in general, school districts have been doing that. They do away those property taxes, and they don't have a mechanism in place to replace those funds. What are school districts going to do? We're going to have to run levies. And they're reducing the types of levies that we can run. Talking about the 20 mil floor, that going up, or including other dollars into that, so it pushes you up over the 20 mil floor. So a lot of things happening out there. But if you're talking to people, point them to our website to look at this. It's a good explanation of what goes on and where it is, and or just memorize this link up here.
Gotcha.
We should find an easier link for that. But anyway, there it is. So that concludes the forecast. I know it's a total shift from what I did last time. Debbie said, "You doing it like last time?" Because I already liked it. I said, "No, change the focus." So I'm probably in trouble with at least Debbie.
Yeah, that was my first meeting.
Nice graphics, thank you.
Question, in regards to that proposal, if it would be on the ballot, if it would pass, your 5-year forecast would then, as you look outward, depending on when that implementation period would be significantly different, correct?
Absolutely, and that was my point, to understand the percentages, because where local fundings to go way down, how's state going to go up? Is it going to go up, or are they going to have us? What, I just say here, what sense does it make to have any levies up that you can run? I voted to drop my real estate, now you're coming out for a levy to increase my real estate? It's counterproductive. It's a lose-lose situation for school districts. It does not make any sense. So I'll keep advocating, and they'll keep running from me when they see me, but that's what we're doing.
Last question. As you look at the 4th and 5th year, which is always, and you've told us for years, that it gets less predictable, less reliable as you move outward. As you would look at other districts, how do we compare? Because as you look at 4 and 5, it doesn't paint a great picture.
Right.
Would we be in similar? And I know you probably don't know how other districts as intimately as you know ours, but to give us kind of, or give me a pulse read on local, if not statewide, are we in as good a shape, better shape, worse shape than what you would say?
Because of our carryover balance and the ability for our state revenue going up year over year, we're in better shape than most districts. We're in the top 40%. I'd say 30 or 40% of the districts are in pretty good shape that they have time to react to any changes. We probably have 30 or 40 that are right in the middle that are going to have to do something right away. And then there could be another 30% sitting out there that could go in immediate panic mode because they're already stressed in the current or next year.
And why I ask is if there's a good majority of districts who are worse off than even as we look forward 5 years out, it gives you some reason to think that politicians would be incentivized to make sure as we move forward there are ways to make up that gap.
I just wish they'd start talking about that, bring it part of the conversation. As an informed voter, okay, I'm going to save a few $1,000s a year on my property tax, but you're going to have to take it somewhere else to keep the same services. We're getting rid of fire, we're getting rid of police. What are we going to do with that? Public schools, we're 50% of all those expenditures, so we're the biggest lion's share, and I'm hearing politicians say, well, schools spend too much anyway. Well, that's why we're sharing this data to prove that that we
No,
don't.
we don't.
We are pretty efficient.
don't.
I can't say there's never waste in schools, because there's waste in any government. But we do a good job of minding our dollars and cents. But, you know, how are we supposed to react to that? You know, especially next year if it passes and if it's to begin in January of '27, boy, that's pretty quick. They need to start letting us know what's going to happen so we can prepare. You know, if they wait till '28 to start it, that may give us an extra year. I hope that's the case. Give us plenty of time to react to that. So we can do some things, but I haven't heard one iota about what they're going to do. You know, of course, if the sales tax go up, lots of states charge anywhere from 9 to 12% sales tax. I think Nashville's 13%. Gatlinburg's 13 or 14%. High tourist areas where you can charge a lot more, because a lot of the locals aren't paying it that often. It's coming into the state that's paying it, so you don't feel it as a local. And then also personal property taxes, when you pay it on your car plates every year. So you go in, renew your car plate, and it's going to cost you $4,000 a year. Instead of paying it through your real estate, you're going to pay it DMV. We just don't know what they're thinking. But, you know, I keep saying it's only fair that we do know what's going to happen to save this money. You know, they're politicians. You take it out of one pocket, put it in one pocket, you take it out of another pocket, right? That's how it works. And you know, I am being, you know, trying to be sensitive. I understand property taxes are harmful to a lot of people, especially elderly that are on a fixed budget, and when they do go up by 10 or 20% a given year, that hurts them. I know that, but right now, what are our alternatives? And that's what we have to know as residents of the state of Ohio. What's the alternative? What's the consequences of those changes?
Other questions? Mr. Bertram, as always, thank you
Thank you.
for the good and the bad news. We'll give you a second to get situated. Alrighty. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Is there a motion for approval?
So move.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? I believe there's a few contracts. Anything, Ms. Hauser, to highlight, Mr.
Yep.
Bertram to bring to light?
Well, what you see in the consent agenda this evening, you see 2 contracts for Warren County ESC at the Learning Center. You see our personnel agenda, our athletic agenda, which are all pretty routine for the board meeting. But I would like to offer up an opportunity for Ms. Scheibert or Dr. Urso. They were able to go tour Warren County ESC this morning. Maybe they'd like to share some of their reflections, you know, with the contracts that you see on the board agenda. That goes right along with you have to see it to be it. So they emerged themselves today in Warren County ESC. So you guys have any reflections on your tours?
Well, I was very impressed. I know
It's a
when
great
we
place.
see $80,000
A lot of-
as a contract over and over and over again, it makes you wonder what goes on there. But we went to the Laura Farrell Building in Franklin that is operated by the Warren County ESC, and boy, there's some special people working there. From the minute we walked in, we went in the back way because it was snowing, and where we parked, we had to go through a machine, and we were buzzed. And they did have baskets there for kids to put things in that they will bring down to the classroom later as a check. But there were so many things that you don't see in a regular school to attend to the needs of these kids. Lots of spaces to, if you needed to remove yourself from a room, the ratio of caretakers, teachers, aides to children is very high, which there's the cost right there.
That's right.
These people, you have to be a special person to work in this field, and thank goodness there are people who do that. This building was, was it K? No, yeah, kindergarten
K.
through 6, right. And we saw each classroom at work, all in different, kinds of operations. They had birds there from the Cincinnati Zoo that the kids were getting a chance to look at. They have reward systems. I haven't gone through my notes yet, but one thing and she said it's in here somewhere. Do you remember that list of behaviors? What was that called? I was so impressed by that. There was a list of behaviors that the children, do you remember, Mrs. Davis, what that was called?
Social language.
The social language, yeah, behaviors. And making them tune into themselves and at the moment to realize what's making them do what they're doing. I mean, every little behavior is pinpointed and they're made to be self-aware and figure out how they can, what they do with that besides just scream or run. And there are places to take care of that you can manage those behaviors.
Yeah.
It was fascinating. It was very interesting work going on there.
Great.
Yeah. I appreciate
Glad you
the
shared,
opportunity.
opportunity to go in and witness
Yes.
yourself and observe.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes, it was wonderful.
Good.
Just a quick blurb. We see a lot of contracts and I want to know where our middies are walking into. And you hear, and I guess you jump to conclusions that you don't want students, nor did I think, to walk into institutions, places that were not structured in ways that weren't creating a full human, and treating them in ways that weren't pushing them into a world of opportunities and happiness and so forth. And you look around, kids have a lot, and some kids have a lot more. And to have a compassionate, organized, thoughtful space, yeah, it comes with a cost, as all good things do. But I was impressed. Is it Julie, who was the principal or director of the space, did a really nice job articulating the opportunities, the structure, very unvarnished. Yeah, we saw kids who were upset, and we saw kids who were academic, who were working on work. And so understanding that gives you more confidence as you see contracts and you
Yeah,
understand
that's right.
allocations and you see why the state and the federal government have to invest in young people and invest in them when they're 5 or 6 or 8 or 10. And so when they're 30, 40, and 50, they can go into the world and do wonderful things, and that they're just not captured into a system that doesn't let them out. And so I was pleased that Ms. Scheibert and I were able to spend an hour and immerse ourselves in a building that on paper really doesn't give it justice.
You'll see the full story when it's on paper. So great. Thanks for sharing. So that's pretty much the consent agenda.
Are there other questions, comments? Mr. Bertram, anything financial in that? Not to put you on the spot.
No, but I will put superintendent on the spot because she has information on a donation.
Oh, that's right.
It's not on my report yet, but it'll be next month.
That's right. So the class of 1963, they have agreed to donate $10,000 once again to our youngest kindergarten through 3rd grade students for field experiences. So they donated $10,000 last year based upon what we were able to share with them, the opportunities that our kindergarten through 3rd graders were able to experience because of that $10,000. They've made a commitment to year after year now donate $10,000 for field experiences for our children. So that's a win-win for our students.
Is Mr. Ginter?
That's right, Mr. Ginter. Yep, James
Yeah.
Ginter.
And thank you. And I know Jim because he allocates scholarships at the end of the year to a high school senior who's venturing into an R1 institute for post-secondary. But a wonderful class. It's nice to see generations of middies continue to invest in the future generations of
And
middies.
give
And so
back,
Mr.
yeah.
Ginter and the class, big
63,
thanks.
yep.
Class of 63. Thank you. There's nothing else. Are we ready to vote?
Yeah, that's right.
I think we're ready to
That's
vote, Mr.
before I was
Bertram.
born.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Stewart?
Yes.
Mrs. Scheibert?
Yes.
Dr. Urso?
Yes.
And Mrs. Ramsey Hunter?
Yes.
All right, under finance, we have our 5-year forecast, the forecast that Mr. Bertram just presented to us. Is there a motion for approval
So move.
and a second?
Second.
Any questions pop up in the last 7 minutes? All right, then Mr. Bertram, when you're ready.
All right, Mrs. Stewart?
Yes.
Mrs. Schreiber?
Yes.
Dr. Urso?
Yes.
Mrs. Ramsey Hunter?
Yes.
And Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Just to take a second, again, Mr. Bertram, thank you. On the record, I know as a board member, we're trusted to make fiscal decisions. We can't make those decisions without the best information that's provided to us. We have full confidence over our time on the board that you've done an excellent job providing us with thoughtful, relatable information that we can take and use and feel good about the decisions that we're making. It's often good news, but it's nice to get the unvarnished understanding of what's on the horizon so we can plan accordingly too. So thank you, Mr. Bertram.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Ditto.
The next item under special education, it's the approval of special education model policies and procedures. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
Thank you. You guys are making me work for those today. You guys know the process. I believe I have to read. Is that correct? All right, so you guys can do whatever you want to for the next couple minutes. All right, I believe it was Ms. Scheibert motioned the following resolutions, and Todd seconded. Middletown City School District Board of Election, Butler and Warren Counties, resolution, what number is this one?
We won't have it till Monday.
A resolution adopting the special education model policies and procedures, the Ohio Department of Education and Workplace. Whereas the Ohio Revised Code 3323.08 requires each school district to provide assurances to the Ohio Department of Education and Workforce that the district will provide for the education of children with disabilities within its jurisdiction and has in effect policies, procedures, and programs that are consistent with the policies and procedures adopted by ODEW. Whereas ODEW develops special education model policies and procedures that a Board of Education may adopt to fulfill the requirements set forth in Ohio Revised Code Section 3323.08. Whereas ODEW modified the model policies, and such modifications are outlined and reflected in version 1 of the 2025 model policies, whereas the Middletown City School District has reviewed the modified policies and desires to adopt the modified model policies. Now therefore it be resolved by the Board of Education of Middletown City School District, Section 1, the Board of Education hereby adopts ODEW's model policy in their entirety, which includes the revisions outlined in version 1 of the 2025 model policies. Section 2, the Board of Education directs all district staff to use and comply with the modified model policies. Section 3, the Board of Education authorizes the superintendent to notify ODEW of the Board of Education's adoption of the modified model policies through ODEW's monitoring system by uploading a copy of this resolution. Section 4, the Board of Education acknowledges that the model policies, while comprehensive, do not include every requirement set forth in the Individuals with Disabilities Improvement Act of 2004. The regulations implementing IDEA, the Ohio Operating Standards for Ohio Educational Agencies Serving Children with Disabilities, the Ohio Revised Code, and/or the Ohio Administrative Code, and the Board of Education recognizes the obligation to follow these laws and regulations, as well as applicable case law in the event there is a conflict between their requirements and the board-adopted model policies. Section 5, this resolution shall be effective upon passage. Todd Moore seconds the motion.
So just a comment on that. This may sound familiar to you. This is something that you board approved back in May. But the state of Ohio now has changed the timeline for approval, and it's November 30th. So all districts around the state are doing the same thing. So we're just bringing it back around. Nothing's changed. In summary, it says we're going to follow ODU's special ed law as a Board of Education. So if it sounds familiar, it is familiar. You just approved it in May. We have to do it again for November.
And I will add that all 5 of you will need to sign the resolution. Thank you.
Any questions or comments? Would like me to read it again?
No, thank you.
All right, me either. All right, Mr. Bertram.
Mrs. Stewart?
Yes.
Mrs. Scheibert?
Yes.
Dr. Urso?
Yes.
Mrs. Ramsey Hunter?
Yes.
And Mr. Moore?
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Brings us to district committee reports. I believe DLT. You guys are on?
We do.
Ms. Hauser?
Yep, so we had the DLT first quarter meeting a couple weeks ago. Just to remind the board district leadership team, they meet 4 times a year. You will find all of our administrators, teacher leaders, central office administrators, and Ms. Stewart and Ms. Scheibert on the district leadership team. The main purpose of district leadership team is to bring forth the building leadership team and the data that's represented in our buildings and our schools and how it plays out into the district's vision. So what we spent an hour and a half together at DLT sharing the data, sharing strategies. We hear from each one of our schools. So I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Stewart and Ms. Scheibert to explain and share with you some of what they had the opportunity to experience at DLT.
I always enjoy going to these meetings and listening to how the different building leaders are sharing and learning from each other. There were some disappointments in terms of the report card and some misses that we had, but there was some real learnings and action steps followed up from those learnings. And there was a lot of wins at the same time, some wins in our attendance and some wins in our growth. So Anita has all that information in front of her, and she'll share some of that with you.
Without going into all the statistical things, which I don't know how much of this is available online for people to see, I'm not sure. But what impresses me the most is that people are always looking into the assessment data that happens 3 times a year especially, and not just looking at it, but they're picking it apart, using other data to figure out where they need to bring the children who scored in the lowest group up, to bring the middle ones up, and to take the higher ones higher. They're not forgotten. If you hit the average level, you're still expected to work on strengthening areas that are weak. So, that each building gives its feedback data on what they're trying, and I filled an entire page, and I'm not going to read all this to you, but it's very different for every school. Some similarities, but everybody seems to pick out what they need the most. And some of the highlights were, graphing the data or having these very visual sheets where they actually have each student on a little color of what they achieved in the MAP test, and then physically moving those children from one group to the next. And while I was sitting there going, about that, one of the other principals said, remember you saw that in our building 2 years ago? And yes, we did. So she reminded me, and I said yes. Central Academy is really honing in on reading for the entire family, because they believe that the desire to read and the interest in reading happens when the family reads. And we are all invited anytime we want to take a book. And if we want to go read to children at Central Academy, we're all invited to go there. So that's an open invitation that was given to me, so you're on it. You're on it. At Creekview, they're doing a lot with math toolkits. They're really honing in on the math area and focusing on those skills too. And they too are using those color-coded proficiency charts. Mayfield is working a lot on the morphology of reading and increasing vocabulary, and they often have the power question of the day, having children learn how to listen to what the question's asking and answering it completely, which I know is a difficult skill to teach to children. And then they told us and had a math word problems. There is one teacher there who uses sequencing boxes, which I thought was fascinating, because after this was all over, Mrs. Hauser sent us a little video of some of these things in action, and I thought sequence boxes for word problems, that's what a good idea, because a lot of kids can do any skill if you just put the numbers there, but when you put it in a story, they haven't got a clue where to start. And I thought, what a simple, organized way to do this that made so much sense. Miller Ridge concentrates on 5 categories of engagement, and she said I forget, are they using the thinking classroom? Is that something she referred to, a book that I can't remember if they're doing a book study of that or what they're doing there.
I believe so.
I
Yes,
can't
she did
remember.
mention that.
Yeah. And she talked about vertical versus horizontal math. Rosa Parks is working hard on writing skills, which is not an easy skill to teach, but boy, is it tapped into for years and years and years in school. And so they're working in a lot of groups, small groups, to do that. And they're working with Butler County, and using their resources a lot too. She said they've really emphasized on that, bringing people in from there. Let's see. Oh, and they're also giving examples of writing prompts, the writing prompts that the kids may be asked on the state tests. They're sending this home to the parents because they're also working on answering these writing prompts completely, carefully, and to the point. And so they want parents to see what we're looking for. Wildwood also is, let's see, I'm getting ahead of myself here. She said they have they often meet in small groups just to focus on filling the gaps of whatever children, whatever they're missing. Somebody's always missing something.
That's
you
right,
can't
fill the
expect to
gaps.
teach a classroom of 26 or 27 children, then they're all going to come out with the same understanding, and how to fill those gaps, and also then on the test scores, how to reinforce what they don't have. And then the junior high and the high school, Dr. Phil got up and he gave us some target goals for his success criteria, which I do not have it on hand here, but I took a picture of it in there. So they are also focusing in on very targeted areas to work with kids. And when we took a visit there, we saw also that on everybody's board is their instructional data, or their goals, the standards that they're teaching, what the student is supposed to be doing in there, and what they're supposed to get out of it. We were able to come to Ms. Thompson's class, and that was
Yes,
fascinating
that's
to
right.
watch. She teaches writing, God love her, because I know freshmen don't like to write, do they? And that's a hard thing. That's a very hard thing. But they were working their little hearts out that day. We were in there, so thank you for letting us come in there. And that's pretty much what we talked about in here. It's always fascinating. It always makes me feel good, and I'm so respectful and in awe of all the things that these people come up with and work together. In collaboration, there's so much more that happens that I know people don't get to see and hear enough
No.
of.
Lots of hard work.
Yeah.
One of the things, and I'm not sure if you two have noticed this, but we've been using the same format now for 4 years. So I don't know, and you've been there for 4 years, but the conversations, how they've changed in 4 years. You know, it's now more the journey. It's doing things better. It's doing things smarter. But just the evolution of the conversations that are taking place at DLT, you have to also think they're the same people that have been working together using this format for 4 years. So the conversations have definitely become much more in depth, richer. You can hear principals talking about, I went over and chatted with principal over at Amanda, and she shared this. Or the high school principal saying, I went to the middle school principal and we worked together. That's starting to evolve. And the journey, as we've been moving together, has definitely, I don't know if you've noticed a difference in the conversations.
The language is the same. Everybody's speaking the same language. And I also noticed that they rely more on one another, and they tap into each other's strengths. Because everybody's report was based on something a little bit different, which is a good thing because they're all different schools and they have different people in them, and you would expect that. And every teacher is going to approach things in a different way. But when they come together for the sharing time, I mean, it's all up there on the boards, and they are more and more, I think, eager to share. Kind of, there's a pride.
there's,
There really
yeah, quite
is
a bit of pride.
in that. There really is.
Yeah, so I've definitely been noticing that. I just wondered if you noticed the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah, great voice at the table.
All right, thank you, both of you. At this time on the agenda, it looks like Board of Education reports. Is Ms. Hunter, anything to report tonight?
Yeah, I'd just like to congratulate the fall sports. I think it's coming to an end. I think all the kids did great. Hopefully, if they're continuing, they'll do winter sports. I think you should always do something to stay active, whether it be just the weightlifting part or joining something, and not just sports. You can join some of the other clubs we got going on. And this is especially for the high school kids. And I also like to do congratulations to the football team. And anyone who has not attended any game, we have a game this Friday. Please, our supportive community, come and join us to support our team. And for the kiddos, please continue to come to school. I know it's really something that the principal at the high school says, but I want all the school students to know, please enjoy our school, that we have so much going on. And when our kids miss, they miss some opportunities that they don't get. So family, if we all get to support each other, and if you need help, reach out to the schools, because they will help you to make sure your kids are able to come. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Moore, Todd? anything?
Yes. It's only been 1 week, but election season is now
that's
over.
right,
So just wanted to say thank you to our folks, our community. Thank you for the opportunity to continue to serve. It's always a humbling experience, and really honored. And also want to say congratulations to Tara
Thank you.
and to Julie Baker. And lots of work ahead, so continue to work on behalf of kids and families in the district. And then again, we've got to show some respect to a 31-0 win at the high school, so that's pretty awesome. So congratulations to our football team, and we do need that. We need that spirit at this point, and just want to say congratulations to our team. And that's all tonight.
Thank you. Ms. Stewart? Lena?
Just congratulations to Julie and Tara, and congratulations to you, Todd, for running and getting in there. You're a really good candidate in race. Thank you for just serving, because it's not an easy job all the time. And congratulations to the Middies for their win. That was very cool and exciting. That's all I have.
Thank you.
No, I have nothing else to say.
Okay. All right, I'll run through. I got a list. Want to thank Kyle Schwarber for sharing time. I know it hasn't happened yet, but I know there's
Coming
a
up,
lot of
it's
excitement for him to come in and be at the high school. And thanks to Chase Brown for doing the same thing, sharing time with our students and investing in our community. Final 16 for football. I think that's the first time in a long time, if not ever.
Since 2009.
I don't know if they've ever made it to 16. Have they made it to 16?
That's what Mr. Campolongo shared today, 2009. Yeah.
All right, so let's beat that one and go to 8.
Only time ever.
Only
was
time ever?
2009.
All right, so this week, hopefully I know last week, the fog and everything that moved in on the field, it was kind of surreal. So it looks like, don't look outside right now, but the weather on Friday, cross fingers, is supposed to be relatively nice. So hopefully it's a nice night for football for Middletown. I want to thank Coach Boyle. I saw on social media that he's a soccer coach, men's soccer coach, decided to step away. Neat family. They're immersed in Middletown City Schools. I realize he doesn't teach here, but he has invested a lot in Middletown, years doing coaching. I think he's on the loudspeaker. I can be in Middletown, not at the game, and still hear him. And nice family. His children have traveled through Middletown City Schools and have left a nice positive mark. So I want to say thank you for his support of our soccer program. I want to thank Cora for the kind words. It's nice to get positive information at the beginning of a meeting. You do a really nice job narrating that and giving a vantage into the high school and into the district. And so thank you for sharing your voice. raise up also, I was going through like fall athletics and just kind of seeing how our young people did. Our high school cross-country team, they do a wonderful job. The coaching staff prepares them, and you see all these names: Eagleston, Palmer, Shear, Castillo, Shear. You see all these names with Middletown next to it, all near the top. And they're competing against some communities that have a lot of people who run. I go drive through Mason, and everybody in that town runs. And so they are doing really well in the face of really stiff competition. Anything else on my list? Yes, Verlina, I mentioned to you today, I know we had an election, and I'll say this multiple times because I really do mean it. Really enjoy serving with you. I know the election marks a point by which in the future we'll have new people, and I'm excited to work with new people and continue to work with familiar faces, but do appreciate your service and continued service in Middletown, whether it's here or at the community center. You do wonderful work.
Thank you.
And beyond that, you're just good people, and it's nice to associate and meet with good people, and so thank you for that. And to Todd, congrats, buddy. We get to hang out a little longer, and Tara, same thing. And I look forward to meeting Julie also, and so that's all I have tonight. Mr. Bertram?
Yes, congratulations to our two incumbents and to Julie Baker. And Mrs. Stewart, I know I passed along a compliment from the treasurer at Butler Tech.
Oh, yeah.
And that hasn't been announced. They're wondering where we're going to go with Butler Tech rep. And so Ford's got a decision on that. And from his recommendation, they'd be very happy to keep Mrs. Stewart if no one from the board would want to do that. So I put that out there. Middies in Lebanon, I actually took two of my Warrior grandsons to the game and made them stand on the Middie sidelines. And it was a great game. We did get fogged out, though. We left when the fog got a little too thick for us, and my toes were cold. But 31-0, that was a whooping.
Cool.
I didn't want to see it that bad against Lebanon, but I knew the Middies were going to win that one. 2026 board calendar been shared with all of you. If you think you need any changes, of course, that'll be on the January 12th, unless we change that date for the organizational meeting. As is, Ms. Hauser had one thought in mind, and I'll share that with everybody. It just butts up against another holiday if we want to move that date or not. So keep me apprised on any changes that you want. I did forget to mention the 5-year forecast dates have changed, and I'll be back in front of you in February or the first meeting in March for the February report. I don't know how much it's going to change between now and February, but they're going to be due now every February and August. So those dates have changed. And then, board, thank you for approving Ashley Sauter, I'm sorry, yes, as my new accounts payable employee. She has good genes. Her mom was a teacher here for 30-plus years, 35
teacher,
if I remember
Cindy.
correctly, and her dad was a former board member as well.
John.
And she has been coaching
John
girls
Sauter.
softball since she got out of college, and she was the varsity coach last year, and she's going to continue that as well and adjust some hours so she can keep that going as well. And congratulations to Ashley for joining our team.
Okay, very good.
Yes.
Y'all good? I also would like to say congratulations, Todd and Tara, and Julie Baker. And Verlina, we know where you are, so we sure do. Yep, we know where you are. You'll definitely be missed. Appreciate all the time that you served on the board. But yeah, we do know where you are. You're not far away. Just a phone call away. Also, I'd like to give a big shout out to 6 of our local community organizations for Personalized Learning Day. We had 535 people participate. If you remember, personalized learning is where our students go out into the community or they learn from home. Remember, we have the board, the Personalized Learning Board, but we had 101 people visit the MAC, that's students and their family. We had 254 visit Midpoint Library. 15 went to Woodside Cemetery, 19 went to Bulls Run for a tour of the Arboretum, 24 went to Warbirds, and 122 people had lunch at the midi meal machine. So that's a big shout out to our partners out in the community. We couldn't do that without you. Also, believe it or not, this is our last board meeting before Thanksgiving. Then our next one's December, and we have Christmas. But really tonight, on behalf of the entire administrative team, I just want to say a heartfelt happy Thanksgiving to all of our staff, students, and MIDI families. This is the first time in a long time this year that we will be out for a week. We used to have Thanksgiving break a long time ago, and we brought back with our calendar committee, the voice of MTA, MCEA. This year we will have 1 week. So it's really a time to recharge, November 24th to the 28th, rest, laugh, hug, eat, whatever you do in a full week. But, full week is a lot different than 2 days. To our staff, just know you're appreciated. You're deeply valued. To our students and families, thank you for trusting us with your children and walking the journey with us. And then as you head into the break, I hope you carry this with you, that you matter to the district, you matter to this community, and you matter to me. So enjoy your break, and we'll see you back in December.
If there's nothing else, is there a motion for adjournment?
So
So
moved.
move.
Second.
You guys are eager on that one. That's been you all night.
All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Have a good night.